Hello and welcome from the Jacob Edwards Library. I'm here with our Artist of the Month, Louise Pigott. Welcome, Louise, and thank you for coming to the Jacob Edwards Library.
Thank you.
So would you like to just give us an overview of the exhibit first of all, and then we'll go to do a tour around of the various pieces?
Sure. So I paint a lot of birch trees. Nature is my favorite thing to paint. So basically we have all nature, trees, flower fields, beautiful, brilliant skies. That's basically what I like to paint.
And it's the scale of the work that you have. You know, there are no small miniatures here.
No, I do not like to paint small.
Yeah, so what is the smallest piece that you would have here, the dimensions approximately?
I think the smallest piece I have is a 16 by 20.
16 by 20, yeah. So we're getting the picture. It is large scale.
So this piece is called Walk With Me, and it's just basically a very bright, it was 5 reference photos that I combined into one painting, and just wanted a brilliant sky and a nice happy path to walk through. And most people feel like they can walk into my paintings, so that makes me happy.
So can you describe maybe some of the technique?
So I paint very thick paint with a palette knife. I don't use a brush at all. So this one is called Hidden Treasures. This is a property I went to visit in September. It's in Vassalboro, Maine. That cabin, my cousin took a picture of it and I said, you must send that to me, I have to paint it. This was really fun to paint and to do, and it's all palette knife, even the cabin. Everything is a palette knife.
But the detail is incredible, and I'm sure the camera isn't really showing it.
None of these paintings look as good as they look in person. It's very hard to take a good picture of them. Yeah.
So this is a beautiful piece.
Thank you. So this is called the peek above. So it's an angle of looking at a painting from, you know, like you're looking up at the sky. The texture on this one is really, really thick. The birch trees were how I began with this technique. I just love birch trees, and I was trying to figure out how to paint them, and painting them with just a brush, I felt like it didn't give it enough life. So I took some online lessons and I learned how to paint like this. So I started painting back in 2010. My grandfather was an artist. He was a Fresco artist. I keep forgetting. Right, Fresco paintings. And I always loved his paintings and wished that I could paint. We moved to Southbridge in 2002 on a property that is on a pond, all surrounded by woods. And I used to sit there and go, oh God, I wish I could paint this. And I didn't know I could paint. And mainly because in high school, my art teacher told me I couldn't. He said, don't bother, you can't paint. So it discouraged me, so all those years. And then my son would, you know, doodle. And I took him to Wildvine Studios with Kathy Coggins. And here in Southbridge. Here in Southbridge, yep. And she, you know, was painting with him, and I said, maybe I'll try. I'll take some lessons. And she came behind, because I used to always say that he got his talent from my grandfather. And one of the first times I painted something, she was like, Louise, she goes, he didn't get it from your grandfather, he got it from you. So I stopped for a few years because I had to take care of my mom. And then I started again in this technique in 2021. Poppies is another fun flower. I love painting poppies. I think they're just so fun to paint. And just brilliant skies and just fields of flowers. So if I'm not doing trees, I'm doing fields of flowers.
So are you a gardener as well?
I am, yes. Yep. I'm not a vegetable gardener, I'm a flower gardener. So I do better with flowers. This piece is called Autumn Reflections. And I love the fall, which is probably one of my favorite seasons to paint. Every time I paint a painting, I walk away from it and I go back and go, oh my God, I can't believe I just painted that. There are times like the cabin one, I walked away from that one going, oh, I don't like it. But then the next day I was like, oh no, I do like it. Okay, it's nice.
So do you ever feel like you're like birthing something and kind of letting it go, or do you feel that that's what you're doing?
Every time I sell a painting, I'm like, oh, okay, here you go. It's really hard to let it go, but I let it go.
Do you have some of your patrons or customers say like that, you know, the size can be a little intimidating for them because they may not have the wall space?
No, I typically get, can you paint that bigger?
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's typically what I get is, you know, can you do it bigger? I'm like, I can do it bigger. So again, another birch tree view looking up. That's just such a fun Just a fun way to paint a painting is to, because I've, laid in a hammock and you look up and it's just so beautiful to see that. This is my smallest piece that's here. I have a really hard time painting small. I just can't, I feel like I can't put as much life into it on a tiny canvas. I did start off small and then went bigger and bigger and bigger. And I would love to do even bigger. I just can't fit it in my car. Yes, so this is just the sky. This is actually a sky over my pond. So I just thought it was a really pretty sky, so I wanted to paint it. So this was like after a storm, I believe. So this is actually, a painting of my sky.
You mentioned that, you feel that the talent has been passed on from your grandfather. What kind of frescoes was he painting?
He painted churches. So, but there were a lot of bright colors. A lot of bright colors. And actually, I sold it last week, but I had a seascape that I did, and it was from Provincetown, and my cousin took the picture and he said, oh my gosh, that's a Pepe sky. And then they said, can you paint it? And I said, I don't know, let me try, and I did. I painted it.
And as mentioned, these paintings are just really spectacular, and just the sheer size and the color and the subject matter are just very energizing, and also they, I think, really give one, they're really uplifting. So I'm hoping people will come through to the library during
even
the
just
exhibit.
To come in and take in the brightness and the happiness of them.
Yeah. Well, it's wonderful to be in the business of imbuing sort of positivity and, just happiness with people, because I think there's a lot of maybe the other around. So that's a wonderful
I like
thing
happiness.
Yeah, well,
it's too much.
I think, that does come through, and it exudes through the paintings.
So this one, I call it peace and tranquility. So this is my view of when I have my coffee every morning. This is my pond. This is my backyard. And it was a beautiful winter morning. The sky is what made me take the picture. And then when I took the picture, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to paint this. And this is all ice, obviously. And I was like, oh my gosh. When I finished it, I was like, oh, this is just, I've painted my pond a lot, but I've never painted it in texture. And this is the first time that I've painted it in texture, and I love it.
Well, what's remarkable is that you can paint the same thing over and over and still get a different feeling from it.
Yes.
And that you yourself, who's probably the most critical of your own work, feel satisfied and can see just exactly what, that you captured what you were trying to achieve.
Yes.
That's remarkable, actually.
Thank you. This is my inspiration. My home, I paint in my den. Basically, I walk through to get to my bedroom, and I have to be careful as I walk through not to touch a wet painting, But my husband's like, well, you can move to this room. And I'm like, no, because it's right on the pond side. And I'm like, no, this is my nature, my natural inspiration to paint. This one is called Peaceful Path, and it's just a flower path going into nature. That was just a reference photo that I loved and wanted to paint. But I will have birch trees like that in my house.
That'd be wonderful. Now, from what I gather, birch trees don't have a very long life.
No, there's insects eating them, is what's happening. Yeah.
It's wonderful to have the passion to start planting them.
Yes. Yep. I took seeds from a couple of springs ago and just planted them. So I have a little grove about this big that's small, but it'll get there.
Louise Appleseed or Louise birch tree.
Yep.
That's wonderful.
So this one is what we're all wishing for today, spring. It's called Feels Like Spring. This is actually Colorado. My cousin bought a piece of property, and this is a picture of kind of where she was going to buy it, and I said, do you mind if I paint it? And that's why I painted it. Again, sky, brilliant sky with field of flowers. This is a 30 by 40.
So the sky doesn't seem to have the same palette work, does it?
No, I don't use a palette knife. I use something else to do my skies.
Okay, so like we're looking at texture down here, really textured, and then it sort of eases off on the canvas.
Well, if you think about nature, the sky is flat, and nature is textured, and that's how I try to come across with my paintings. So this is called New Beginnings. This painting won People's Choice with the Massasoit Art Guild and third place back in 2022. This was my very first birch tree painting, and this is why I do this, because I had a reference photo of this beautiful fall landscape, and I said, oh my gosh, I want to paint birch trees thick. How do I do it? So that's how I found the lessons that I took. This painting was my brother, who passed away, his favorite painting. He loved it. So.
It is. It's very pretty.
Thank you.
So is this available for sale?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He would kick me if I didn't sell it. So this is called Endless Beauty, and it started with just a brilliant sky, and it's like a field of tulips. So it's another kind of spring painting. But this one is not a lot of landscape. This one I was really focusing on the sky. This sky just took my breath away when I painted it.
So have you learned all the cloud names yet?
No. I just paint them. Over here we have Summer Memories. This is just a beautiful, spring, summer, birch tree landscape.
So even though like the theme can be repeated, it's very different from one painting to the other, and
Yes.
that's what makes it interesting, is that you can see the comparison. So
Yes.
I'm sure people appreciate that, and
Yes.
the texturing as well. It's just so
Yeah.
layered. Hopefully it's going to give everyone that looks at these, gets an opportunity to come in and visit the
Yes.
exhibit. It'll give them an opportunity to think, differently about trees and about nature, that you'll kind of inspire them to kind of have a different perspective.
Yes, yes. And hopefully it makes them smile. Okay, so this one is Field of Flowers, just another flower painting. But that sky for me is just, that was so fun to paint. So fun. It's just, I love bright skies. Sunrise more than sunset.
So what advice would you give somebody starting out?
The advice I would give is to just do it. Just get out there and do it. Don't be afraid to paint. Just paint. And don't be afraid to paint over a painting. But because this birch, the New Beginnings that's over here, I painted over that one. That's another painting that I started doing it with just the paintbrush, and then I went with texture. And just don't be afraid to paint.
Because it's remarkable that you were given no encouragement at school, and yet
Right.
this is where you are today.
Yes.
I think that should be a lesson learned for anybody who's looking on.
Absolutely.
And thinking,
Always, just try new things.
Yeah.
Just try new things. Find what makes you happy. It may not be acrylic paint. It could be oil. It could be watercolor. It could be mixed media. You just don't know unless you try. You just try all different things. And paint color if you want. Don't be afraid to paint color. A lot of artists paint, or they're told not to paint anything colorful and bright. Paint color. If that's what you want to do.
whatever floats your boat, do it. Because
exactly.
you'll be surprised at the results. It's wonderful. Yep. Well, that's a very empowering thing to encourage budding artists, and I hope that people take your advice.
I hope so too.
And maybe they'll be exhibitors at the Jacob Edwards Library,
Maybe they will.
just like you are now.
So this one is called Daydreaming. My cousin, another cousin, I have a very big family. I do. My parents each had 9 kids in each family. So, and then cousins, big families. So this one, my cousin was camping, and she was in a hammock, and she took a picture of it. And I said, may I paint that? And she said, absolutely. My cousins are really good. They're like, paint whatever you want.
So how does it work? You get a palette and you just put different colors on, mix yourself, and just keep going with coloring
until I'm happy with the color. And I learned color theory from Kathy Coggins at Wildvine Studios. And now I just, I've read a lot of books. Besides taking, online lessons, I've read a lot of art books to just teach perspective, and, I've basically taught myself, how to do this. And this one is called Winter's Beauty. This one is it's not anywhere in particular. It was a reference photo, and it was the sky that got me, and that's why I painted it. So it's basically the snow with ice and just a beautiful sky.
Yes, the tranquility and peacefulness is just remarkable.
Thank you. So this is another sky from my house. Just clouds, because I didn't know what to name it. So it's just, clouds in the sky. I've had some artists come through a few festivals that I've done, and they're like, just clouds. You know how hard it is for me to even paint clouds? You look at you, you're just calling it just clouds.
Right. And so do you think that, do you do series at a time, or would you play in clouds today and move to a different topic tomorrow? Maybe?
Oh yes, I have reference photos. I have ideas of what different places that I've been that I want to paint, and I just kind of go through all my pictures and then decide what I'm going to paint next. Like, going forward, I want to try to do a bunch of seascapes. And this last painting is called Inspired by Heaven. So it was on the 1-year anniversary of my mom's passing. And my son came to me and said, instead of being mopey, start an underpainting. And I said, you know what? I said, you're right. Instead of being sad, because I know where she is, I said, I'm going to do an underpainting. And then like 4 or 5 hours later, this was on my easel, and I did the whole thing. So it's just a brilliant sky with poppies again. And she inspired me to paint this beautiful painting. And it made me happy instead of sad that day. Yeah.
And so you were very connected with your mother and you looked after her. So
yes,
it must be wonderful to have a manifestation of that in a painting and to feel you've captured that mood.
Yes, yeah. She was in a nursing home. I took care of her for many years. Then she went into a nursing home, and then that was not good. So I took her out, and I took her home and took care of her for 2 years. And she passed away in my home. But she was her last 24 hours of living, and she was not on heavy medications. She was in and out of heaven. And her last words to us were, "Oh, my angels are here," and she let go of our hands. And that was the last thing she said to us, but her body didn't die for another 4 hours. But she did not. She was talking to us in and out for a good 24 hours, and then she never said another thing. So in her memory, I hide an angel in every single painting. It could be in a tree, it could be in a sky, it could be in a flower, it could be anywhere in the painting. It's just my dedication to my mom.
It's a wonderful story.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
So if you'd like to invite all your friends to come.
Yes, please. Come down, come to the library, and see my paintings hanging. The website, like I said, is wonderful, but it doesn't do the paintings justice. You really have to see them in person.
So thank you very much, Louise Pigott. This is a wonderful show, and we look forward to seeing all our community coming through to see your paintings and to letting you know by signing the guest book.
Yes, don't forget to sign the book.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.